All right, so just FYI, I sent you a file. The file has pages that you will see in a moment that have been printed out here. And I've also sent you some page numbers from your yellow book that need to be printed for the portfolio. So we're just going to go piece by piece through it this morning. If you need, if you need us to pause and you to look for items in your notebook so you make sure they're in the right order, let's do it. Let's just get it all in order for everybody today. And you can also see, oh shoot, I know I did this, where did I put it? And make yourself notes of, I know I sent that to Lillian, let me go check my email, whatever needs to happen, okay? So here is the ginormous notebook we started with. Everybody have your ginormous notebook?
Yes.
Okay. All right, now I don't have the actual written materials in here. I just have the page dividers. So now let's talk about what are in these sections, shall we? Do you have your yellow book?
Yes.
If you do, open up to page 133. And 133 says My CDA Professional Portfolio. This is one of the pages I had asked folks to print out.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It is required to be in your portfolio. And it tells you the order as well. It's like a check sheet for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm giving everybody a moment to open to page 133 or to take out your checklist that you've already printed out.
Okay.
All right. So number one on this checklist says this sheet. This is going to go at the very front, in front of
The binder.
in front of everything, y'all. In front of this, even this page, at the very, very front.
Oh, okay.
And the person that comes and visits you is going to see, have they checked off that they have everything? If they see that you have not checked off everything, they're going to say, you haven't finished yet. Why did you call me?
Oh, okay.
All right. So it says after this sheet, the next thing is going to be your summary of My CDA education cover sheet. So that is the one, the first one I showed you, the summary of My CDA education cover sheet. That's the next one.
Oh.
Now, this is where it gets cute now. It says after that summary of My CDA education cover sheet, you need to have all your relevant training transcripts, certificates, and official documentation. So in order for us to know what that is, I'm looking on page 10, and it says you have to have a high school education or a GED, or enrollment as a junior or senior in a high school career technical program. Okay? So right after that summary of My CDA education, you need to either put your high school transcript, your GED certificate, or prove that you were in high school as a junior or senior doing a technical program in early childhood. So that's where that goes. Then you need to have proof that you have done this class and finished it. And I'm going to give you a certificate for that if you have everything finished by July 4th.
Okay.
So it's going to be your high school diploma or GED. Then it's going to be your proof that you took this course, the certificate.
Okay.
If you're able, It also says on page 10 that you need to prove that you have 480 hours of work experience with children 3 years or younger. Shouldn't be very hard for a good chunk of us. 480 is nothing, right? So ways you can do that is to have your boss, if you've been at your center for a long time,
Okay.
to write a little note for you, or to say that Sylvia has worked for us for this many years at 20 hours a week, 10 hours a week, whatever,
Okay.
and has made at least 480 hours. Professional education, it says 120 clock hours. So I would also say if you have any clock hours from the last 3 years, you know how you keep up your trainings every year? If you could get a copy of your list of trainings as well to put there, that would be very nice.
All for 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
And it lists all this out on page 10. But it'd be nice to show, because you have to do your trainings anyway, and you have done them for the last 3 years, so you might as well get some extra credit.
So for this all night week I was when I working I did 70 hours, so I can put all the 70 hours I did
Sure.
plus the CDAs.
So the hours that you have worked, that goes under work experience.
No, I'm talking about training.
The trainings would go right after you put your high school education and your certificate for this course.
Oh, okay.
All right, so we know we need GED or high school. We know we need this certificate for this course. We know we need professional education, any training, PD you've done in the last 3 years written out there. Then we need your work experience in classrooms 3 years old or younger.
Okay.
Okay. It also says your experience, it doesn't matter if you were paid or not. So if you've even volunteered for something working with young children, that counts too. All right, let me go back to page 133. Yep, that takes care of the summary of my CDA education. That's tab A, it says, but whatever. All right, B on this checklist on 133 is the family questionnaires. So you should have your family questionnaires page. And then I am flipping to page 12, which talks about the family questionnaires. Everybody has received their family questionnaires. You know you needed to have them for, I think it's 60%. Let me double check. So it's page 137 was the thing that you gave to families to fill out. That's the questionnaires. Then let's see if that's 136, 7. So in the family questionnaire thing, it says it has the sheet that I asked you to print out, which is the family questionnaire summary sheet. That has to be printed out, and you have to fill it out. Candidate name, that's you. You don't have an ID number yet, so you can't fill that part out. It says that you put the questionnaires that you have gotten back behind this. So you have this page, then you have the questionnaires that you got back. And it says, I distributed. So how many did you hand out? How many families did you hand out? So if you had 3 babies, that means you distributed 3. And it says, I collected. So that means those are the ones that were given back to you. And I collected blank. So you put the number that you got back. And it says, place them behind the summary sheet. So I guess I was wrong. You have this sheet, then you have the summary sheet, then you have the questionnaires you got back. And it says you have to have more than half. If you had 3 babies, more than half would be 2. If you had 5 babies, more than half would be 3. If you had 1 baby, more than half would be 1.
Okay.
You can't have half a baby. All right. That's biblical, I think. All right. Number 3 on this family questionnaire sheet says, I have looked for patterns or trends from the feedback of the questionnaires. So that means you read what the parents wrote for you. And based on what they wrote, I believe that this is an area of strength for me. So you say what the parents told you you were good at. And then for the areas of personal growth, that's something that the parents said, well, maybe you could make this a bit better. And it's for number 4 on the family questionnaire summary sheet. It says, I have taken the areas of strength and growth that I wrote and entered them into the boxes A and B on my reflective dialogue worksheet at the end of this book. So I'm flipping to the end and see where that reflective dialogue worksheet is. Oh, how silly of me. It's right after the family questionnaire summary sheet. It's the next page. So it says, and it's sideways, CDA verification visit, reflective dialogue worksheet. Looks like this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for the family questionnaires, it looks like that's column A here. And it says, what are your areas of personal strength? That's where you write it. Your areas of growth, go here. So once you fill out your family summary your family questionnaire summary sheet, you copy down those areas of strength and growth onto this chart.
Where's that at again?
Tawana, a little bit louder. I didn't hear you.
Could you give me a page number?
I would love to give you a page number. It does not have one.
Oh,
Oh, the page before it says 142. So I'm guessing it's 143.
okay, thank you.
It's the page right after the family questionnaire summary sheet, which also doesn't have a page number.
Okay, I found it, thank you.
Okay. So you take your family questionnaire summary sheet, you stick it in your book behind the family questionnaires, and then you put the feedback pages that parents have given you behind it.
Okay.
All right, let me go back to our CDA professional portfolio checklist, and that will get you through with B. So you have your cover sheet, you have your summary of your CDA education, which has your transcripts, your certificates, and your proof that you've worked at the daycare. Then you have your family questionnaires. And then after that, you have your reflective dialogue worksheet, which you know is right after the family questionnaires in your book. It's the one with that chart we just looked at. This one. So that's C. And it says you have to complete boxes A and B, which are straight off that family survey. You're just copying the information down again. You don't have to fill out C, D, E, and F, just A and B.
A and B, okay.
You're gonna do the C, D, E, and F when you have your verification visit. They'll do it with you. Does anybody else have a question about the first page in your binder, the checklist? No, okay, great. The second page in your checklist, in your binder, I'm sorry, is the summary of your CDA education page.
Okay,
After that, you have your high school transcript or your GED.
okay,
Then, if you look, make a note to yourself that it's on page 10, talking about it's in this little red square on page 10, what all you need to have there under the word prepare. It says you need to have your high school education proof. You need to have your professional education proof. That will be your certificate for this course and your certificate for any other professional trainings from the last 3 years you can put there.
okay,
Then also in the red box, it says you need proof that you have worked 480 hours with children 3 years old, 36 months and younger.
so how we can prove that one? So only the center or all the centers how they work?
If you have worked at the center you're currently in long enough that it makes up that 480 hours, that's enough. If you have not, then you can make like a resume for yourself
Okay.
and just list where you have worked
Oh, okay,
and what age classrooms.
okay. Okay,
Does anybody have a question about the summary of my CDA education section? You can either shout it out or put it on the chat if you do. I understand this is a lot and I want to make sure everybody understands where all this information is coming from and where it goes in your binder. All right, I'm going to move on to the next bit. Tab B on this professional portfolio checklist is the family questionnaires. It has the cover sheet for family questionnaires, which says family questionnaires, followed by your family questionnaires cover sheet thing, your summary, your family questionnaire summary.
the summary.
This one, your family questionnaire summary sheet, followed by
And the little square like.
the thing right after it, which is your CDA verification visit reflective dialogue with A and B filled out because you're getting that information directly off the summary sheet before it. Does anybody have a question about the family questionnaire section?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Let's
So
hear it.
It's the family questionnaire summary sheet and then our surveys that go after it? Or where do the family questionnaires go?
It says, once you have distributed and collected your family questionnaires, place them behind tab B in your professional portfolio, complete the summary sheet and put it in front of the questionnaires.
Oh,
So I would say do your summary sheet,
yeah,
your family questionnaire summary sheet, then put your questionnaires.
okay.
All right, on this, my professional portfolio checklist. The next part is your reflective dialogue worksheet, which is the page right after your family questionnaire summary sheet. You're going to have that with only A and B filled out, and that is information you're pulling directly from your family questionnaire summary sheet.
Okay.
Does anybody have a question about this document?
No.
Okay, that's the first group of stuff we're talking about. Now we're going to start getting into the numbered items. All these resource collections and competency statements and experiences, the lesson plans that you've done. Is there anybody that needs help with the stuff before that? Okay. Let me pull back up the big notebook. We've done the family questionnaires. We've done the reflective dialogue worksheet that goes after that. Then we get into the competency goal 1. And after competency goal 1, you have your resource collection. After this competency statement 1 that has listed, it lists out precisely what order you're putting them in. So, and it also lists them out in your yellow book. It starts on page 14 where it says the resource collection.
Okay.
In RC11, it says that is your valid and current certificate of completion or cards from your first aid course and your CPR course. And those have to be from a nationally recognized training organization such as the American Red Cross or the American Heart Association. It says online training is not acceptable. We had got these, I believe, at the beginning of the course, had everybody make a copy, so you should have it in your notebook, so you have to hunt it down and find it. But that is the first thing, RC11.
Okay.
Your first aid and infant child CPR documentation, and it has to be current. You can't get it from 5 years ago. Your next part is RC12, which is on the bottom of page 14, RC12. That is, remember when we did the menu or feeding schedule activity? And everybody either brought a menu or feeding schedule, or we made copies of ones that other people brought. It says you need to have,
Yes.
it says on RC12, you need to have a feeding schedule for young infants, for mobile infants. So that'd be what? The ones that start scooting around, usually when they start feeding them solids, and then toddlers. If you don't have all 3 of those, you can ask from your center. It's like, I need it for this age group. Can you send it to me? And if for some reason you're not able to get one from your center, which might be kind of weird, let me know and we can figure it out. But it says you need to have one feeding schedule or menu used for each age group. Young infants, mobile infants, and toddlers. That's 3 altogether. It says if it's not possible or you work in a program that doesn't serve meals, so maybe the kids bring their own food. So if it's not possible, you may substitute one from the internet or ones that we've copied from folks in class and shared. So just make sure you have one for young infants, and that's a feeding schedule, mobile infants, and toddlers. RC13, which is at the page, top of page 15, is the sample of your weekly plan. So your lesson plan for the week. And this doesn't mean you need to make one of these long learning experience plans like you've been doing, just what you would normally have to post for your classroom. For the week, it says a sample of your weekly plan It does have to have the goals for the children's learning and development. You know how to find goals now if you don't have it down there already. Brief descriptions of the learning experiences. And then the age group on it. So usually you have to have your age group anyway, your classroom's age group. I think everybody has to do some sort of weekly plan, don't you, to turn in?
Yes.
Or a monthly
yes.
plan?
Yeah, we had to do.
All right, I'm not seeing a special section for our competency statements. It doesn't have a special page, I don't think, for that. So we just talked about on D on this sheet. We were on D. We talked about the resource collection items, and we had a specific page printed out for that in our notebook. Now we're going to do the second section of D, which is called the competency statement section. So it has competency statement number 1. And it says it has to include the paragraphs competency statement 1A, 1B, and 1C. Everybody has this. Hunt it down, please. So that's going to go after your resource collection items on competency standard 1.
Okay.
And I pulled that directly from here. So if you don't have it, this reminds you of what it is. And if you'd like, I can look up the page that competency standard is on in your yellow book and let you know, so you can make a note for yourself if you need to look it up. It's on page 17 of the yellow book, telling you what that competency statement was. Competency statement 1A was reflecting on a sample menu. That's the one we had looked up, a fun one from somewhere, I believe in Africa, or Shanyal had looked it up, and we had talked about the different kinds of food that they were serving and how neat it was, and the strengths and the weaknesses of the menu. And then CS1B was reflecting on a room environment that you're going to have your visit in, reflecting on how the room shows how you believe young children learn best, or if it wasn't designed by you, what do you see as its strengths and what would you change? And then CS1C, reflect on the weekly plan you included. How does it reflect your philosophy of what young children need on a weekly basis? And if it wasn't designed by you, what do you see as its strengths and what would you change?
Okay.
Let's go on to the box that has, from this My CDA Professional Portfolio, E. And E is, it has competency goal 2, that page. And competency standard 2 that has the list of items that go with it. 2 has RC21 through RC29. And those are where your learning experiences go. Those lesson plans that you've agonized over, you get to put them there and somebody gets to look at them and tell you how nice they are. Isn't that lovely? So I'm going to look up what page that's on in the yellow book for you if you need additional support with that. It is 15 in the yellow book. Those are your 9 lesson plans.
Okay.
Now the kicker for the lesson plans, you need to check. It says of your 9 lesson plans, 3 should be appropriate for young infants, 3 for mobile infants, 3 for toddlers. Quite a few of the things that you have done can be judged. So if you look and you say, oh no, I have a majority of these are for toddlers, I think quite a few of those can be changed to young infants because of that huge span of time in the goals for Little Texans Big Futures. I'm sure it covers both. But make sure you have 3, 3, and 3, and make sure they're labeled so that they can tell easily what age group they're for.
Okay, so 3 and 3 and 3. Okay.
Mm-hmm. If it was me and I wanted to make it super easy for somebody that was coming to check out what I had done, I would probably on the very top of each of my activities, so it says RC21 is science and sensory. I'd probably go at the very top of my sheet that I did my sensory and science activity and write RC21.
Yeah.
Just to make it so easy that they don't have to think at all.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because you don't want them to be hunting around and getting confused, right? Because you're going to be nervous probably, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I've lost it, I've forgotten about it, and it's actually right there. All right. Now I'm going to go into the second part of E, which is the competency statement 2. And it's CS2D. So, sure they had, oh no, I'm reading it wrong. It's CS2, A, B, C, and D. I was like, why on earth would they have just had D? No, it's A, B, C, and D. So let me look in the yellow book for what page that's on. It's on page 18, and competency statement 2, A, B, C, and D was,
Yeah.
and you had done these separately, remember? So you probably have a separate paper for each one of these. So CS2A was, how does your experience reflect and support children's physical development? That was A. CS2B was cognitive development. CS2C was creative development. And CS2D was communication development and language development. So those are 4 separate papers you all need to hunt down. And I recommend putting them in order, A, B, C, D. So the competency statement for CS2A you did when we were doing the chapter on physical development. CS2B was the competency statement when we did the cognitive chapter. CS2C was the statement we did for the creative chapter. And CS2D was the statement we did for the communication chapter. So 2 of these you wrote with me in class, and the other 2 we did once we moved online.
Okay.
If for some reason you can't find the ones that you've done since we've moved online and you know you emailed them to me, check your email first. And if you can't find it in your email, give me a call and I'll hunt through my email too. And hopefully between the pair of us, we'll find it. Does anybody else have a question on competency statement 2? Those 4 different statements. So that gets us through competency standard 2. You're going to have your 9 learning experiences. Then after those, you're going to have your 4 competency statements for competency statement 2. All right. The next section on the professional portfolio checklist is F. The resource collection item 3. So let's get in the binder. And this is the first page, competency goal 3. The page after it is the resource collection item, and that's where your bibliography is going to go. We did the bibliography as a group. Everybody should have access to it, and if you chose to change it in some way, that was fine too. If you need more information about the bibliography, what that looked like, you can go back and watch the video on it. And it's on page 15 at the bottom of the yellow book. The second part of F is your competency statement 3, including paragraphs CS3A and 3B. So let's see what that is. It's on page 18 in your yellow book. On the bottom. And 3A is describe some ways you can support the development of children's positive self-concepts and growing social emotional skills. So that was the self and social chapters we did. CS3A was the competency statement we did for the self and social chapters. CS competency statement 3B was reflect on your philosophy of guiding young children's positive behaviors and challenging behaviors. That was the guidance. So for competency goal 3, you have your resource collection item is your bibliography. Then you have your competency statement for self and social, and then your competency statement for guidance. Okay, I'm going to move on to, on this checklist, letter G, which has resource collection items 4.1 through 4.4. And so in our notebook, we have the competency goal 4. And then we have our collection items page is page 16. That's our family resources guide. We did that last week together as a group. So you should have this. It is on page 16 at the top. That is RC41 is the name and contact information of a local agency that provides family counseling. RC42, the name and contact information of a translation service. RC43, the name and contact information and brief descriptions of 2 agencies in the community that provide resources and services for children with disabilities. RC44, a list of 3 or more websites and brief descriptions that provide current information to help families understand how young children develop and learn, including the articles. You don't have to print out the articles. It's just the stuff we did during class when we told the article title and what it was about. Does anybody need assistance with RC4, 1 through 4, the Family Resource Guide? I did post the video on it. If for some reason you're missing it, you can go back, watch the video again, and write down your RC4, 1 to 4. I even edited out our wait time, so it'll be quicker for you. All right, the second part of G. Am I even holding this up? There we go. The second part of G is the competency statement 4. It says competency statement 4, including paragraphs A, B, and C. And that can be found on page 19 at the top. So competency statement 4A, B and C, we did that all as one group of stuff for the families chapter, I believe. It says, for CS4A, how do you ensure that families are kept aware of what's happening in the child's daily and weekly life in your program? Competency statement 4B, how do you ensure that you are aware of what's happening in each child's home life? Competency statement 4C, reflect on the feedback you received in the family questionnaires. Explain how the responses surprised you, confirmed your own reflections, or gave you new goals for professional growth. That gets us through G. If we look at H, resource collection item RC5, when we look at our notebook, has competency goal 5. Then it has the resource collection 5, which is actually stuff we collected at the beginning. It has, let me see, let me go read it out with the page number. RC5 is on page 16. You have to have 3. They like the number 3. 3 samples of record keeping forms that you have or that you use, include an accident report. I know everybody's used an accident report. An emergency form. Everybody has to have an emergency form. And a completed tool or form that you have used to observe a child's development and learning. You may or may not have that you use frequently. If you don't, and you don't, your director can't help you find one, contact me and we will figure that out. But you have to have one. It says make sure you mark out the child's name, so you're not sharing personal information about a child. The second section of H, competency statement 5, including paragraphs 5A. That's weird, but okay. 1 minute, let's see what that looks like. All right, competency statement 5, including 5A, is on page 19. Write at least one paragraph that describes how you use the observation tool or form that you included in the resource collection. So you have your tool, and then you're going to have a reflection on it in your competency statement. Why are observation and documentation important parts of the program management? So if you think back to the session we had on assessment, that talks about why it's important to know what's going on with each individual child and in your classroom. And how do you ensure that you are accurate or less biased when you assess? So that was the information about how to make sure you don't label a child as being bossy or mean, but instead write what you're actually seeing. My yellow book's getting well and truly creased here. Now we're on I. Towards the bottom, resource collection items are RC6, 1, 2, and 3. We also did those last week. Here is the binder for 6, the competency goal 6, and the page that lists the collection items for 6.
Okay.
And then the page number that you can find the collection item information for 6 is there we go. Page 16. We did those last week. RC61 is the name and contact information for your state agency, including, remember we talked about the pages you need to print out that show the qualification requirements for personnel such as teachers, directors, and assistants, group size, so the page that shows group sizes, and then the page that shows adult-child ratios. That's RC61. RC62, a list of 2 or 3 early childhood associations with a description of professional resources and membership opportunities. RC63, summaries of legal requirements for mandated reporter. And if for some reason you don't have that, we did it last week. You can look at our session from last week and get that information if you'd like what we did as a group. And then at the bottom of this checklist for I, it has competency statement 6, including paragraphs 6A and 6B, which is on page 19. Competency statement 6 on page 19 says, reflect on why you chose to become an early childhood professional. Why did you choose to go into this field?
I'm good with children's.
There you go. That's a good reason. And then CS 6B, reflect on what you believe are the most important indicators of professionalism that you possess. What makes you a professional? What do you think are your best professional qualities? So that gets us done with I. And then the last bit on here is J. And that is your professional philosophy statement that we had done the first section of already. So you have at least that section finished. And in the binder, we have a philosophy statement page here. You flip that and put your philosophy statement. And the description of the philosophy statement is on page 20. And it has those 3 parts, remember? The first one was, how do you believe young children learn? And that's the one we did together. B, based on this, what do you believe your role is? And the last one is, beyond teaching and learning, think about what other important aspects of your role is in the lives of children and families. On page 20, it also says, once you have completed your portfolio, hang on to it. Tawana, with that puppy of yours going through a chewing phase right now, put it up somewhere high. If you've got small children that want to color in it, put it up somewhere high. You have to keep your portfolio with you and hand it to the professional development specialist that'll come during your verification visit. The last page that we have in the binder is resources. These are fun things that I handed to you in class that I thought would help you as a teacher or that you could share with families later on. There's stuff that's not required, but that you might like to have, and you'd put them in the very back after that resources page, like the handout for lead contamination. There was all sorts of stuff at the beginning when we were face-to-face and I could hand you things. So anything that wasn't specifically detailed in that checklist, it goes behind resources. All right, so next week, we're going to do a review. And the review is going to come mostly from the Brown Book, the homework guide. We won't record the next one. Maybe the next two we'll just do together. We'll go through the Brown guide and do a question answer. If you're on the live session, you can participate. If you're not, then have a lovely time going through the Brown Book by yourself. Everything is due, your portfolio and watching all of the sessions is due by July 4th. At that time, I will reach out to each of you and you let me know whether or not you have finished everything and your portfolio is ready to be inspected. And you're ready to answer questions about the chapters that you've read and the sessions you've watched. If you don't read the chapters and you don't watch the sessions, I don't think you're going to do well on the exam. And that's a waste of your time. And I don't want you to waste your time. I want you to get a CDA. That's the whole point of us doing this. So make sure you've done your homework. I will reach out to you on July 4th. You let me know whether or not you're finished. God willing, everybody will be finished. And I'll start making out the, what is it called? The certificates. When I will be back in the office on July 13th. At that time, we will register. I'll start reaching out to folks and maybe we'll set up a Zoom meeting for how to register for your site visit and your exam and how to get it paid for. This is only for the people who have finished everything. Does anybody have a question?
Yes, sorry, I lost my internet, so I missed a lot of information. Sorry, but I don't know what, I have a lot of issues with the internet.
All right, Sylvia, we'll do it again. The next 2 weeks,
Okay,
the Zoom session at 9:30 will not be recorded
okay,
because we're going to ask, I'm going to quiz you on information that is in the Brown Book. There's
Okay.
a lot of quizzing information in the Brown Book. I'll quiz you all.
okay.
And you can ask questions about the content. If you're like, I don't understand why that's the correct answer,
Okay,
feel free to attend. I think it'd be a good exam prep for everybody. The reason I'm not recording it is because we are taking information directly from here, and I think that'd be a copyright issue putting it on YouTube.
okay,
Okay, so you got that part?
yes,
July 4th is the last day to finish everything for the class. I will reach out to everybody on July 4th and see if you're done.
okay,
When I get back in the office the week of July 13th, then we will set up a time for us to schedule our exam and schedule our site visit and how to pay for it.
okay,
Because all of you are getting paid for by this grant that you're participating in. I've also said that everybody needs to read all of the book, all of the textbook, and you need to watch all the sessions in order to do well on the exam. I think that's all I've got. Does anybody have a question for me? If anybody needs support and needs somebody, I honestly think the word pester is appropriate for this, but if gentle and persistent encouragement, if somebody needs gentle and persistent encouragement, like a mama, texting them every day saying, have you finished this? What's next? What are you going to do next? I am willing to do that for you. Let me know.
Miss Lillian,
Yes.
what is summary of my CDA education goal?
Say that again, Nikki.
The page that's a summary of my CDA education, the one that we have to print out.
That goes, so here, look at this sheet,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and it's number 2, so it's going to be the second thing.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
So at the very front is this page.
Yeah.
And then the second page is that summary of my CDA education summary sheet,
Oh, okay.
which looks like this.
Okay.
And then, according to this chart, it says after that goes your transcripts, your certificates, and your official documentation for the number of hours you have worked.
Okay. Do you know about the transcript? Do I have to contact my high school that I went to?
Do you not?
I don't have any transcripts like you.
Yes. If you don't have any proof that you graduated high school,
Oh, well, I have my diploma.
that's good.
Oh, okay.
Go with it.
When you say transcript, I feel like the classes that I took or something in high school. So that's what I thought you meant.
The diploma will work. Proof
Okay.
that you've made it through.
Yeah. Okay. I have my diploma.
I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
we gotta get that girl proof. How are we gonna do it?
Okay.
The transcripts, I think, are more appropriate if you've done some university,
Oh.
because that's fairly easy to get transcripts for that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. So should I include my? 'Cause I went to Northwood Vista also, and I graduated from there. So
You
should I?
can. It doesn't hurt at all.
Anything
Don't
we
put
have-
original documents, Nikki. Make copies
Yeah, I will.
because you don't want to lose your original documents.
Yeah. Okay.
So any no, yes, that's yes, I had a professional certificate and a substitute teacher certificate. So can I put it on the
Yes.
on the file? Yes.
Make sure you just put a copy though, because you
Yes.
don't want to lose where you're hiding things. So you know, for other
No,
purposes.
yes. Yes, I always make copies
Good.
to make sure.
So I hope to see some of you next week at 9:30, hopefully all of you, so we can start working on the homework book and do some quizzing and discussing why one answer is better than the other. I think that'd be really helpful for us to just get in the frame of mind of thinking through these scenarios for an exam.
Okay. Okay.
All right. If you have questions for me, stay on. If you don't, have a lovely afternoon, and I wish you all the best.